Thanks, Lucas, for putting this together. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited to see Maddie and Rob and Connor on screen. Where it feels like ages since I've seen y'all. Where Rob, I think when I first started, you were on campus, so it's been a while.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think I remember sitting in on your presentation during that interview process.
oh wow, wow! So
Yeah,
thanks for the good
not
words,
to
I
date
guess.
myself or to date you, but yeah,
Well, I don't want to take up too much time, but I think like now, so I just want to give Rob and Connor and Maddie a chance to introduce themselves to the students in the room and perhaps share with them why you decided to study history at St. Ben's and St. John's. So maybe since Maddie's in my top left, Maddie, you could go first, then Rob and Connor.
Hi, my name's Maddie. I'm a CSBSGU class of 2020. I wanted to study history because I was just interested in it. It was the classes that I liked the most my freshman year, and I just decided to continue on with it. I enjoyed what we did. I enjoyed how we did it, and I'm really happy with my choices today. So no regrets. Rob, if you want to go next.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Maddie. Hi, everyone. I'm Rob Hedberg. I'm an HR specialist at Maurice's. Been in my role for a little over 2 years now, but thinking back to what led me to pursue history when I was starting out as a fresh-faced 18-year-old at St. John's, class of 2014, I should add. Really, I just had this strong passion and interest in history all throughout high school. That interest and passion carried through into the college years. And it was one that I took a lot of different courses, was able to expand, build on some of the knowledge that I had of history, but then applying it in a college context, really gave me the opportunity to learn some new skills and things that I still use today in my current role.
Excellent. Thanks,
Awesome.
Rob. Connor.
Yeah, good to be here. Good to see you all out there. Professor Wangler, hello. Good to see you. My name is Connor Beck. I use he, him pronouns. I graduated from St. John's in the College of St. Benedict in 2015. Proud alum. Happy to be here now. What drew me to history? At the time, I was on a pre-law track, and I knew a lot of lawyers studied history. So for me, it seemed like a great way to get a good GPA and get into a good law school. Decided to not practice law. That was a great decision. But I also, got to as well. It's just something that I'd always been interested in, and I followed that interest. And yeah, I'm also very grateful for my experience as a student of history at St. John, St. Ben's, because, it really did allow me to sharpen some very hard skills that I use today as a professional, in addition to just making me a more, I think, insightful human being, right? So, obviously you do a ton of reading and writing and synthesizing and communicating as a history major. Those are actually really hard skills. And as someone who makes their living as a professional communicator, let me tell you, not everyone can write effectively and can communicate effectively through written words. So it is a unique skill. It is a skill that you very much sharpen as a history major. And then just also having this view of society and how it developed throughout the years and all that went into that development is something that just makes you a more well-rounded human being. I think a more strategic thinker, someone who can connect the dots a little bit more. And that's really important too, because I think more than anything, people, when they're looking for, candidates to fill a position, want strategic thinkers. They want people who can connect the dots and see beyond just what's ahead of them and kind of look at how things fit into a larger context. So history also develops that skill too, which is another hard skill. I forgot to mention what I do now. I work for a really wonderful nonprofit in St. Paul called Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative. I'm a digital communications manager and strategist, so I do a lot with social media, mass email, web communication, things like that. And I also am a freelance copywriter. And I also have a little side hustle where I do native landscaping with my dad. So that about occupies my time, keeps me out of trouble. But good to be here and happy that you're all considering history.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Connor, Rob, and Maddie,
Yeah, you're
for
welcome.
introducing yourselves and telling us why you decided to pursue history here, and also sort of those skills that can be developed inside the history classroom. Wanted to now ask you if you'd be willing to talk about some of your experiences at St. Ben's and St. John's, maybe in the classroom or out of the classroom, that influenced where you are today. So whoever would like to take a first attempt at that, feel free.
I mean, I'm happy to take a crack at that.
Thanks,
Professor
Connor.
Nash, if that's okay. Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, again, I mentioned this earlier, but you do a ton of writing as a history major, a ton of research. You have to know how to be really efficient with that. And as someone who got into marketing, like those are just skills that really lend themselves well to being a professional marketer. So I think, you know, as a history major, you aren't just kind of like forced into situations where you have to learn that on your own. Like you really do have the guidance of professors along the way who know how to, you know, employ those very hard skills. And I can tell you that Professor Wengler, you know, who was my advisor, in addition to Professor Larkin, taught me a lot about how to conduct research efficiently. Professor Schroeder certainly did a lot of that too as well. How to, you know, elevate my writing skills, how to communicate succinctly. So, you know, those are certainly things that, you know, stood out to me as valuable skills when I was looking for a job, and kind of eventually what led me down the marketing road too as well. But, you know, I can also tell you that as a liberal arts student, like you do have the chance to take other classes, obviously, outside of your major too as well. And so I just, you know, I encourage every one of you to explore those options in addition to, you know, history, because you, like, I think in my own case, what ended up happening was it was like a melding of these different interests that kind of led to where I'm at now in my career. You know, I gained these really hard skills from being a history major, you know, followed my interest there, but also took environmental science, you know, and that certainly led to some of my my freelance work, and then also, you know, as a landscaper and also as just a marketer, a copywriter there too, because I ended up doing things that were related to some of those interests that I cultivated in other spheres as a liberal arts student. So yeah, just be open to the question, what am I interested in, when you're, you know, finally at that point where you're going out into the world and looking for a job. And then also just feel confident in the skills that you've developed along the way, and in the people that helped you develop those skills too. They're there as resources, and, you know, every one of these history professors is going to be willing to sit down with you and work on those hard skills too as well, if you feel like there's room for you to grow there.
Right. And I'll kind of piggyback off of Connor's comments too. You know, here's a line I used in the interview that helped land me this job. So feel free to copy my work here. But I told, when I was being interviewed, I said, history majors learn how to learn. And I think that that's a really important skill to have. And, you know, especially in a career field like human resources, where things can change kind of on a dime, and, you know, you have to be flexible and agile, and, you know, willing to pivot as new information comes through. You know, I think that that's an important skill that was kind of the groundwork for that was laid with my studies in history. And you know, I think being able to soundly, you know, compose an email or to compose communication that's going to be read by a wide audience, you know, those same skills once again I traced that back to my experience with the history program at St. Ben's and St. John's.
Yeah.
So you know, I think that there's a lot of great things that you can learn there. And I think the other thing too is that I think as history majors or, those studying history, you need to have an open mind about things. And I think that that's translated well in my career because it was a bit of a long and winding path to end up in HR. But, I think there are little things that you can pull from each position that you hold that can apply to your current role. So, I work for a company that's been in business for 92 years. So there's a lot of history. And, sometimes when I'm on a recruiting call with a candidate, they want to learn more about the company. So I can kind of dive into our ownership history, talk about where we were, where we are, and where we see ourselves heading. And, I tie that back to working as a tour guide at Split Rock Lighthouse for a couple of seasons, those same kind of storytelling skills that were, started with my history degree, applied in that role, and now, I kind of translated that into my current position. So, I think just know that whatever roles you hold, the skills that you learn at each position too will carry into the future in sometimes unforeseeable ways.
I can say that for certain. I currently work in export controls and research security at the University of Minnesota, and I can tell you I did not graduate school knowing that I wanted to do just that. The skills that we were able to gain through history, through learning about communication and knowing how to do research and type like that, we can really kind of expand our skills and kind of get to where we need to be.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well put.
Since Rob, you mentioned your career path, and I know we're all at different sort of stages of our career path given our graduation years. Could you sort of describe for us each of you your journey to your current position, and if the current position you're in, you want to maybe you see yourself moving to another position as your career develops. Could you sort of work us through how that works? I think the students would really appreciate that.
Sure. And I'm happy to kind of kick things off, if you will. So, I gotta say, I probably should have visited the career services office a couple more times before I graduated than I did. So shameless plug here, but I really did start out my career in a lot of administrative, some temp positions, some seasonal. Actually was working for a gym for a little while after school because I like working out, and it was kind of a natural transition to be a sales associate at the gym because it was, I didn't feel like I was hard selling something I didn't believe in. I felt like I was selling, a lifestyle. But, kind of did a couple of those administrative roles for a couple of years. I ended up at Split Rock Lighthouse in a seasonal position as a tour guide for 2 different seasons, and then eventually found myself working at the Visit Duluth, which is the Duluth Tourism Bureau in town here, and held that role for about 3 years, which really was that started in, I think, 2016, if I'm remembering my dates right. I know history major not getting his dates right here. But held that role for about 3 years. And that was really my first opportunity to grow my network in the Duluth business community. It's a little, depending on where everyone's from. I think that career services will tell you the power of networking is important. I think that that's super important. Wherever you put down roots, but was there for about 3 years, then went to Essentia Health, which is one of the major healthcare providing networks in Duluth, for a similar kind of administrative role. And that was November 2019. So just 5 short months later, COVID shut the world down. And that was an opportunity for me to do some soul searching and think about, what have I done in my last few roles that I really think is, the most interesting piece, and, what's maybe missing. And, for me, I realized that the human element is something that I really enjoyed, but, how can I translate that into a position that's a little more recession or I guess pandemic proof, if you will. And human resources is really what came about in my own kind of, career services, soul search, or career search kind of, deep dive. And so I ended up pursuing a certificate through the University of Wisconsin Superior while I was working as a staffing or scheduling coordinator at a local nursing home. So trying to get some, real world experience alongside my certificate that I was working towards. And then Eventually, I saw that there was an opportunity at Maurice. I was at least generally familiar with Maurice's, didn't really have, super strong foundational knowledge, knowing that it was based retail. But I had an opportunity to chat with my recruiter at the time, and now my coworker Susie, who really told me the Maurice's story, and I knew, not soon after hanging up the phone with her, that was the place that I wanted to work in town. And the stars aligned. I went through a couple of rounds of interviews, and each interview I just felt more energized than the last. And I've been with the company now since June of 2021, so almost 2.5 years at this point. But in my current role as HR specialist, I primarily have been handling some of our entry level recruiting opportunities. So kind of that entry level role up to like a manager level. So maybe the 0 to 5 year of experience within a career field. And I kind of assist with our merchandising teams, some marketing roles, some of our teams within finance and accounting, and other business areas kind of as need be. So that's where I'm tapping into the learning side of my brain, because I have to learn about these different business areas that I might not be super familiar with myself, and then be able to, at least at a high level, explain to candidates what they would be doing in a potential position when chatting with them. So it's tapping into that ability to learn quickly, reviewing job descriptions or job postings, so that I can relay information to candidates as well. Because as you'll learn soon, when for those of you graduating soon, that the career search is just as much you learning about the company as they are learning about you. So I think that that's something that's applied. For growth, I think within my role, it's been absorbing new duties as they arise, and just taking opportunities for internal development. I'm very fortunate that I work in a space that believes in that sort of development. We offer internal courses. We have also an external educational match program. So opportunities abound there. And I think that, one of the most important things in your career is that, you want to chase being an expert, but also understanding that, there's always opportunity to learn new things or to learn new skills. So those would be my big takeaways.
Nice.
I guess
Maddie, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sorry. I
Yeah.
can talk about my career path next. I graduated in the great time of the summer of 2020, which was a great time to enter the workforce. I wanted to pursue a career in the legal field, but I wasn't entirely sure I wanted to commit to being a lawyer. So what I did was I started working as a legal assistant at a family law and an immigration firm while I was pursuing a paralegal certificate. Once I got that paralegal certificate, I moved over to patent and trademark, so intellectual property, and started kind of learning more about the legal world and kind of what it all entails. The skills in communication and writing and just being able to comprehend a large amount of research in a really short amount of time was incredibly helpful. From there, I was able to land a role at the University of Minnesota in export controls and research security. In there, I kind of handled more of the regulatory and security requirements for researchers working with controlled information and technology. And working in a university system, super awesome, kind of to piggyback off Rob there. It's they want you to learn more. They want you to be able to pursue other opportunities in other areas that are interesting to you. And it's just been a super awesome experience and highly recommend it.
Nice. Thanks for sharing. Also, if my connection is spotty at any point, will someone just please let me know? Because I am in my basement, and sometimes on video calls it can be a little dodgy.
All
Good?
right, I'll
Okay,
let you
cool.
know. You're good now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and Maddie and Rob, thank you for sharing. So, I will start off by saying this. History major, as you all know by now, gives you a lot of really great hard skills, like hard, meaningful, valuable skills that the job market wants and needs. the thing about it is that it's not as like plug and play. So you will have to do a little bit more selling of yourself to kind of make the connection between here are my skills and how it might apply to this specific job. You know, if you think about other majors like nursing, for instance, it's pretty obvious that you're going to be a nurse with that. Whereas a history major, like you can do a lot of things, but the connection for people isn't always as obvious, even if it's obvious for you. And for me, it was obvious. I was like, come on, I have all these skills, please hire me. You know, but you just kind of need to meet people where they're at and sell yourself a little bit more, but also believe in yourself because you do have a lot of great skills that you'll gain through this major or minor, whatever it may be. So, you know, that being said, my career path was pretty meandering from the start, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it just in a good way. I was lucky enough to get involved with a small business on campus when I was a senior. And it was a small group of entrepreneurs that were selling these really well-made outdoor goods like backpacks and things like that. And it was kind of a rare opportunity. And I got to do like the marketing, the content writing for them. So that was really kind of where I got my first taste in marketing. But from there, I ended up becoming a Jesuit volunteer and an AmeriCorps member and doing 2 years of service with the JVC Northwest in Washington State, in Spokane and Seattle. And that was phenomenal. So, you know, this is where I make my plug for doing a year of service. I think it's great for a number of reasons. One, like if you're sitting in this room, you're incredibly privileged. That's not a bad thing. It's just the fact, like you were lucky enough to go to college, you have those resources, and you getting a degree, even if it's not a sure in to get a job after school, like it's going to put you ahead of a lot of other people. So are we still good? For some reason, I cannot see the room anymore.
I think we lost them.
Is everyone still there?
Yeah, I lost them.
Oh,
There we are.
there you are.
They're back.
We're back. We're live. Okay, great. Oof. So anyways, so doing 2 years of service or a year of service is great because it can be tough to get that first job because a lot of jobs will say, you know, we want prior work experience, but how do you get that? Like, you know, if you can't apply, if you can't get a job because you need job experience, like how do you get that? Well, one option is doing a year of service. In my case, I had, you know, everything paid for. Like I lived in a house with 6 other people. I was working for some great nonprofits. I was doing work that I was really interested in, found very meaningful. I was living in these cool places, top of the world, right? So, and those experiences gave me, you know, really good job training, really good experience that I could then use to kind of like take the next steps in my career. And as an AmeriCorps member, I also received an education stipend that I used to, you know, pay down some student debt that I had. So cannot stress enough how golden of an opportunity doing a year of service is. And just, yeah, the chance to live in a cool place. You could live in Montana, you could live in Alaska, you know, if you're a Jesuit volunteer. So please, please, please consider that, especially if you need time to kind of think about what you want to do next. So after doing 2 years as a JV, I wanted to get into marketing, and my sister was in marketing. So I, you know, tried to get going as a freelance. It was tough. You know, I really had to kind of like bust open the door and then pull the door off the hinges. But I did it, you know, eventually got a few clients, and then that turned into kind of more. I've worked for agencies. And then finally, filling my cup, I want to do something that puts my skills in service of a greater good, which was really kind of my intention from the start. And so that's when I started working for Beacon Interfaith. Oh, I broke up a little bit. What part did you miss? Everything?
Just before you talked about getting to Beacon, where you're at now.
Got it. Okay. Tell you what, I'm going to stop my video real quick, save some bandwidth. Yeah. So I just decided that corporate America wasn't really filling my cup. You know, it's great for some people, can also be kind of toxic in other situations. And I really wanted to put my skills in the service of greater good. And so I decided to make the switch to nonprofit, and am very happy there so far. Long term, do I think marketing is for me? It's something I'm good at, something my skills work really well with. I don't know if it's what I want to do forever. And I think it's really okay if you decide, hey, I tried this and I don't want to stick with it forever. Rob and Maddie are great examples of that, and they're doing fine. And life takes you into all these different places. So be open to opportunity elsewhere. It's not that you constantly need to be switching or finding a job that's perfect and that checks all the boxes. Life just doesn't quite work that way. But be open to possibilities. So for me, it's something I'm considering is going back to school and becoming like a mental health counselor. It's always something I've kind of been interested in. And we'll see. But you know what? I know that my history major is going to set me up for that too, and that I'll pull a lot of the same skills and different skills, including communication skills, which that'll serve you no matter what. That'll serve you no matter what. So I'll stop there for sake of not being too long-winded.
Well, thank you all for sharing your journeys, talking about the skills that you practiced and refined as history majors and how they're serving you. It's pretty well as you're working in your current career, and then even thinking about how to make transitions when you need to. And I appreciate too the way you're connecting your skills with your values. Because it's one of the things that St. Ben, St. John's, we work really hard to ensure our alums and will be able to live meaningful lives that matter. Right now, since we have about 15 or so minutes, no, I'm sorry, 20 some minutes left, I was thinking we could transition to see if any of the folks in the room have questions for you. And if not, I have tons of more questions as well, but I just want to have some space for our audience members to be able to ask what's on their minds. Yes.
So obviously there's like a certain set of skills that all history majors and minors learn, and that are well known, but are there any that you guys wish you would have refined more when you were in school? Anything like that you think, yeah, this is good, but I wish I would have spent more time working on this or this.
And were you able to hear Logan well? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
I'll kick one off. I think, amazing. Like I said, I love the research skills, the learning skills that I picked up as a history major. I am now just taking some Microsoft Excel courses. So if you have the opportunity to take a business class or maybe even an accounting class, just, basic accounting to learn, especially if you're interested in going into business or, a career that's going to utilize some of those, I recommend looking at those or, even just kind of business fundamentals. Sometimes, when I started at Maurice's, it was kind of a crash course for the first few weeks. I definitely got my feet underneath me, but there was a lot of rapid learning that needed to take place. So I think with being at St. John's, St. Ben's, a liberal arts school that does have such a wide array of classes and courses offered, anything that you feel might apply to a career that you're interested in, or, something that you've looked into, I would recommend that. The other thing is I will plug right now, tap into the Johnny Benny network. It's one of the best professional networks you can utilize. And the network is, it's engaged, it's passionate. There are a lot of alums like the three of us who want to give back and connect with students. I get a rush of nostalgia and joy every time I return to campus, and I love connecting with students and other alums. When I see a St. John's or St. Ben's resume come across my desk as a recruiter, it's like I want to talk to this person even if I don't hire them. So, I think that's the other thing, is that if there's a career that you're interested in, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile already, I'd recommend creating one and then just reaching out and saying, hey, my name's so-and-so. I'm interested in learning more about your career field. Can I connect with you, teams, over Zoom, whatever, whatever platform works best. I think that's gotten a lot easier now because when I was in college, Skype was just becoming, a thing. So, really dating myself there with that reference. But the opportunity to make that face-to-face conversational connection it's literally at your fingertips now.
I'll just reiterate, yeah, please take full advantage of the Johnny Benny network. It is incredibly helpful, not even just to like find a job, but just to connect with others who have gone through similar experiences. The advice that you can get is just exemplary, and there's nothing else like it. Something that I wish I would have done more when I was at school or looked more into. I work in research and I talk to scientists all day, every day. I did not take a lot of science classes. So people are telling me about things that I really can't relate to. And it takes a lot more effort to figure out what's kind of going on with them. So I wish I would have pursued more scientific courses, I guess.
Yes, Johnny Benny Network. So many people in interesting positions on LinkedIn who are even just outside of that network, and reach out to them and ask them for their experience and ask them about how they got to where they are. And that's really how I made the next step into marketing. That's how I met my mentor. It and a lot of people aren't willing to do that. So if you can at least like reach out to someone in a genuine way with curiosity, that connection, at the very least is going to teach you something, and at the very most could lead you some really cool places. Yeah, I echo what Rob said about Excel. It's kind of a seemingly boring thing, but it is important. And you can learn a lot of that on YouTube too. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I recommend taking a business class for the sake of even just being well rounded. But certainly, like, that will help give you more context when kind of going into today's economy. And it'll give you, an even broader range of skills to fall back on and to use, and make some more connections with the skills that you have already. So, I try not to live with too many regrets. No regrets. That's my motto. But, I think I can say that because I did take a wide variety of classes as a liberal arts student. So do that. If you have an interest in another field, another area, for me, that was like environmental science and literature. Do that, but also, yeah, do something that is going to challenge you a little bit more. Even if business doesn't seem interesting to you, like, I guarantee you can pass an introductory level business class or
We're losing you, Connor.
economics class. I took economics and that was super valuable too, as well, just from the skill inside I gained in there. And in an interview, or can help you do some higher skills. You're going to take classes from different fields and kind of push you in the right direction.
I love it. The wisdom is great. Thank you, Maddie and Rob and Connor, where I like your ideas of taking a wide range of classes, thinking about classes that could challenge you or help you grow and develop, and how those skills could pair with the other skills that you're getting in your history courses. I love Excel too. Thanks for mentioning it. I'm a team Excel half a semester in the fall, teaching a class for a different program. So I'm excited about that. And hopefully more history majors will take that class because it's really good. So now, Logan, thank you so much for that great question. Who's next? Oh, is it Anthony? You have one? Or Caleb or Bryn? Oh, Anthony has a question.
I guess what caused you, like what drove you to pursue history as at St. John's or St. Vincent?
Yeah, so just Anthony's question was what was it that got you pursuing history as your major at St. Ben's and St. John's?
I can take a shot at that.
All right.
So, I know we all kind of mentioned this already, but really interest. And I want to reiterate that point because I think that interest is a great way to navigate your career as it is. I think when I made the switch to nonprofit, it's because I had an interest in marketing and I had an interest in social justice and I had an interest in housing, thanks to my time as a Jesuit volunteer. And those interests all kind of met at this point, which was where I'm at now, Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative. I think a lot of times we get told follow your passion, and that's really well-meaning advice. But I think what a lot of people mean when they say that is follow your interest. Like to me, if you have a passion and it works out with your career goals, great. Some people do, but something that's more realistic is to just have an interest in something. I think passion burns hot and bright, but then it kind of can burn out. And I think if everyone followed their passion, we'd have like a ton of video game designers and like zero plumbers. So, do something that interests you. I think like if history interests you enough to the point where like you just find it kind of intrinsically captures your attention, you're just kind of motivated to learn about it on your own, which was definitely the case for me. I was like, you don't need to tell me to do my homework. Like I'm so stoked to learn about like, witch hunts and like the Roman Empire and all that. Yeah, just follow what intrinsically kind of interests you. And if you say, hey, that's history, great, follow that. And if that's history and business, even better. Just keep that as kind of like your North Star and think about that as you take the next steps in your career too is, what do I find interesting? Because when you're really hitting a wall or you're being challenged, or you're looking for purpose, you're going to find a lot of that in what you're interested in. And we see this a lot in the professional world too. People will kind of like get the high paying job that society says you should have, or this is what makes you successful. And they get away from their interests and they end up not being really too happy with their decisions. But once they return to their interests, it's like something changes about that. So follow your interest. For me, history was an interest, and what I'm doing now is something that also really interests me too as well. And that doesn't mean there aren't challenging moments or hard days, but that interest is what is going to get you to kind of intrinsically motivate yourself and push through those challenges.
And I think just to build off of that, we talk a little bit about red threads at work, which are those things that you do in your day or in your week that kind of keep your interest, that you can pull on at any time, and that's what gets you motivated. And in reality, in your careers, only about 20% of what you do is what's going to be maybe considered a red thread, but that's that's okay. I mean, there is at the end of the day, there is work that needs to be done. It can't, it's not all going to be play, but if there is that those parts of your job or career that you can tap into, and sometimes you might have to take a position or two to figure out, okay, this isn't for me. I want to pursue something else, or I learned that there's this one thing I did in this role that I didn't do, I felt I wasn't doing enough of, so I wanted to try something else out. And I think that that's another thing to pull off of. But I think same as what Connor was saying, it's just that curiosity is what drew me into history and wanting to learn more. And I think it's great for trivia nights. Sometimes not, I don't remember every single course I took, but the skills that I learned from those courses. And I think especially the nice thing is too that with history, there's so much that can be covered. You can cover medieval ancient history. You can go all the way up to maybe 50 years ago. I spent a lot of time researching the American 20th century, and that tied into Western Europe as well, because those were kind of my passion points. But there are a lot of there's a lot of interconnectivity between those things, and a lot of things that now have, I think, carried into the modern world, and it helps helping understand the image of where we as a society came to be. So not to ramble on too much here, but just wanted to add on to that.
Well put, Rob.
Yep, and you guys basically said anything that I could say. It was my first classes in history. I was really interested in it, but it was challenging enough that I wanted to do more. I wanted to get better. I wanted to learn more. And just kind of following that kind of just drive to kind of learn more and become better has kind of been really helpful, not only throughout school, but through work as well. So just to reiterate, follow your interests and see where that leads you.
Thank you all. I like that. The curiosity, right? Interest, joy, drive, how they all go together. And then Rob, I appreciate the red threads. I'll have to ship that over to our HR folks, see if they can help us find our threads sometimes. That's great. And Anthony, great question, where I appreciate it. Do we have another one from the audience? Well, my audience is silent right now, so we haven't frozen. We were just reflecting. I guess, Lucas has one.
I'll throw in a question because I definitely want you guys to make the most of our loves here. So all of you are in such unique careers. Obviously some of you have been at it longer than others. But what if students are interested in gaining experience in what you're currently doing, or perhaps pursuing what you're doing right now, what would be most helpful for students to maybe do or pursue now, or as
Did they freeze again? Okay. Got it.
I can get started. I can tell you right now, I work in research security.
Oh, here we go.
Sorry?
Sorry, I think we missed the last part of your question.
Yeah, I can say the question. Just what things can students do if they want to pursue what you're currently doing? What things might help them while they're in school, or after they graduate, to set them up to maybe get to where you are right now in your career and what you're doing?
I would suggest just try anything. My field that I'm in currently, I work with people who have done what seems like the most random things in the world, and we're all ending up in the same field together. So following what you're interested in, you can still end up wherever you still want to be. And just know that if you want to work in kind of more of the academic research security stuff is growing immensely, and there will always be a job for you. So if anyone wants more information, I'd say pursue it.
For mine, I would say, well, first of all, Lucas, please share my contact information with anyone who might be interested in human resources. I'm happy to serve as a conduit for questions. I'm happy to set up informational interviews. I know Career Services does their own mock interviews and that, but I'm happy to just have a conversation with anyone. I think if you're interested in or in human resources, once again, I think human resources is another business area that can have I think I work with a team of 25 different individuals, and I don't think any one of us has the exact same career path or trajectory. It's another position where, all kind of backgrounds, all kinds of experiences can play in and have strengths. And there's, I think a role for every person. I think having, a strong customer service mindset. I think every person should work at least one customer service role in their lifetime, because there are a lot of skills that, that tie into history, but you learn that face-to-face interaction. And, sometimes it's humbling because you can be dealing with people who might be frustrated, but it gives you added emotional intelligence and an ability to handle those difficult situations. And I think that that's something that, especially human resources, we sometimes do have to handle those difficult situations. But we also have a lot of fun. I think if you work with a highly dynamic, well-working team, then it can make your own day a lot easier. So that would be my advice. But yes, please, I think all three, not to speak for everyone on the call, but I think all three of us are happy to serve as jumping off points for any career interests.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not sure if you want to get into marketing unless you want your job replaced by like artificial intelligence sometime soon. That was a bit of a joke, but kind of serious at the same time. But I'll just reiterate some of the things. I mean, marketing is a fine profession, and there is a growing demand for it. And you can think of it more in terms of connecting people with value. If you really are interested in marketing, that's how I think of it. It's not like, how can I sell someone some BS, but how can I connect people with value? So that aside, I want to reiterate some things that I mentioned already because they are super important and because they're basically like free strategies and resources that will put you ahead. As Rob and Maddie and everyone already mentioned, career services, like get in there, have them take a look at your resume, use that resource. It's part of what you pay for when you're paying tuition. Do it. Johnny Benny Network, like connect with that, use career services, to connect with Alum too as well. Also, use LinkedIn, get premium and connect with people online and try and set up those informational interviews. Don't have it be transactional, have it be unique when you reach out to people. Say, hey, I'm interested in what you do specifically. And I would love just, a 20-minute phone conversation to ask you how you got to where you are now. People like to talk about themselves. Also, map out your interests too as well. This is something I did when I was discerning career change recently, before I landed at Beacon, was to just like write down everything I was interested in and really put that on a spectrum. And then also write down all my skills and put that on a spectrum and kind of just like map them against each other and really to try and see where they align to as well. And then also, thank you. I appreciate the applause. Do consider a year of service, consider something like that, because it will give you the option to, go and try something new and get some really good job experience. And when I was a senior in school at St. John St. Ben's, I had a lot of great interests and a lot of those carried through, my career trajectory. But as a Jesuit volunteer afterwards, I also developed new interests. So be open to that and seek out opportunities to develop new interests. For me, like I became a JV, I worked for a housing nonprofit at the same time that I was following another interest, which was food justice. But I learned how important like housing first is and getting people stable housing and how that has this cascading benefit and effect on the rest of life. So yeah, put yourself out there and be open to the fact that your interests change all the time. And that's a good thing too as well. So that's really, that's my advice in a nutshell.
Thank you all. That was fantastic. And one of the things too, maybe you'll be happy to learn, where we in the history program are working to get nicely aligned with our experience and professional development office now. So that's why we have the 200 level students in this room. And I appreciate too your plugs for networking and LinkedIn and informational interviews, where one of the assignments that they're just finishing up right now is an informational interview assignment that will reflect on Friday, as well as reflecting on your wisdom that you're sharing with us today. We'll do that as well on Friday. Awesome. We're getting to the spot where we have about 3 minutes left. So I wanted to provide each of you with, I guess, a minute to share your parting words of wisdom to our students in the room. What do you want them to leave with? So maybe Maddie, would you like to go first this time?
Sure, I can do that. I guess my parting words of wisdom is college is the time to explore and the time to figure out what you're interested in and what you want to work more on. Um, Once you find your interest, once you work on the skills that you want to work on, finding a career afterwards isn't the end of the world. You will find a place, you will find a job that you like. It might not be your first job, might not be your second, but you will get there. And know that you just have a network around you that is willing to help you through every step of the way. So don't be a stranger, reach out, and best of luck to you throughout your college career.
Thank you, Maddie. Rob, would you like to go next?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I think my parting words of wisdom would be, you know, never be afraid to be vulnerable and to pivot in your career. If you do start out one track and you realize, hey, this really isn't what excites me, that's okay. That's totally okay. I think like what Connor was saying, if you map things out and kind of say like, okay, what are my interests? What are my skills? What's the crossover? That's a great thing. And then the other thing to just remember is that you know, learning is a lifelong journey. It's not 4 years at St. John's and St. Ben's. It's not, what might come after if you pursue a graduate degree. It really is a never ending, never ceasing thing. And yeah, your career will inevitably evolve over time. I went into school thinking I was going to be an archivist, and I'm now 10 years later working in human resources. So, just know that it's not it, change is a good thing, and it's inevitable.
Yeah, wow. Well put, Maddie and Rob both. And, I will just say ditto to all of that. I will reiterate that, yeah, change is and can be a good thing. And it's also like one of those things we can count on most in life. So be open to that. My advice is be a contemplative in action, right? So take steps, put yourself out there, do things that scare you, whether that's reach out to someone for an informational interview or do a year of service or take a job that you're not totally sure about. Just get out there and get the experience. And once you have the experience, discern it a little bit, be thoughtful about it and ask yourself good, deep questions. How did this make me feel? Is this something I'm interested in? What did I learn here? What do I still want to learn here? What are some strengths that's pointed out or some weaknesses, areas of growth that's pointed out? And just be open to changing yourself as well. And then also believe in yourself too. I know that's so cliche to say, but you do have a lot of skills. You are talented. And it can be tough to kind of keep that in mind when you're hearing no, when you're applying for jobs. But just remember that you really only need to hear yes once, and that the right people will see your quality and will give you the opportunity and stick with it. Just keep your nose to the grindstone and don't give up and don't get discouraged. Like one foot ahead of the next, step by step. Longest march can be won. So believe in yourself, and you'll go far. I believe in all of you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Connor and Rob and Maddie, for sharing your wisdom with us.